Hello, my name is Sasha Yelenek and I'm going to talk to you about the Riparian Revegetation sub-project, which is a part of the project A2. So we're looking at riparian revegetation, and we know it's one of Melbourne Water's key interventions for maintaining or improving riparian and waterway health. Currently, Melbourne Water have revegetated about 850 kilometres over the last 5 years to 2018, spent more than $10 million revegetating these areas. Despite this investment, there's a relatively poor understanding of the outcomes of revegetation. There was a works monitoring method that was set up around 14 years ago and has recently finished up to monitor how effective these management interventions such as revegetation were. But there were a number of limitations to this method, such as the index of stream condition method was not really designed for measuring the short-term changes seen in revegetation, and it's not really detailed enough to assess revegetation effectiveness. A lot of the control sites that were paired to the work sites were lost over time, so they weren't good comparisons, and a lot of the monitoring protocols were too broad or generic to get a really good understanding of how management interventions such as revegetation were actually changing and what the outcomes of those actions were. So what are our key research questions? Well, we want to know, can we consolidate recent lessons from revegetation research and synthesize it into existing conceptual models to produce new conceptual models for the Melbourne water landscape? What are the desired site level outcomes of revegetation, and how does vegetation composition, structure and recruitment change over time? Given these site level outcomes and looking at the conceptual models that were developed, what are the most effective monitoring methods for assessing revegetation interventions? And how can we use other data, especially in looking at faunal monitoring, which is already being undertaken by Melbourne Water? How can this be used to inform our revegetation outcomes? And finally, can we harness new technologies such as LiDAR to more effectively inform our understanding of how revegetation and remnant areas change over time? So the main benefits to Melbourne Water would be these updated conceptual models, which would allow us to better identify the major drivers of revegetation success or failure, a better articulation of the goals of monitoring and the desired outcomes of revegetation, appropriate monitoring methods that could be focused on addressing the key themes identified in the Healthy Waterway strategy, more robust data sets so we can better analyse and understand how revegetation actions are affecting river health, an ability to understand and effectively report on revegetation outcomes, and a better understanding of the benefits of new technologies such as LiDAR to assess management interventions and things such as vegetation condition. So the methods that we're looking at are, as I said, synthesizing the existing conceptual models to produce appropriate models for the Melbourne water landscape, analyse and summarise existing data from the works monitoring method project so we can learn from this method and learn from the 10 years of monitoring that's been undertaken. Assess how other methods such as the RIMP method and the revegetation monitoring method developed by ARI could be used along with other tools such as the Society for Ecological Restoration guidelines to better adapt our monitoring methods and then field trial these methods and update our knowledge, including the development of a data template and data capture methods. And also look at choosing sites for things such as LiDAR assessment to see how revegetated and remnant areas change over time. So far we've looked at the extent data for the existing data for the works monitoring method, and we've collated that, tidied it and analysed it where possible. And we've identified the deficiencies, data gaps and other issues with that method. We've reviewed the last 10 years of data and summarised what we've learned and potential remedies or solutions to this method. And we've also done a preliminary review of conceptual models as far as revegetation outcomes are concerned. And this is just an example of an adapted conceptual model using the riparian intervention monitoring or RIMP method. So in 2021, we're looking at analysing and reporting on the works monitoring method regarding the revegetation outcomes, assessing and modifying the conceptual models to make them more in line with Melbourne water needs, identify and describe the full range of revegetation outcomes and compare how monitoring and evaluation methods and other methods can be used and field tested so we can get better outcomes in the future. Finalise this monitoring method and develop a data entry template and run training and field trials for Melbourne water staff and refine the methods so we can really get good outcomes in the future. And finally, construct a data set of matched revegetation sites and also the LiDAR data, and so we can get a better understanding of how we can use LiDAR and on-ground methods to get good revegetation results. So this is the project team, and thanks for listening.